Hello everybody, my name is Sheila SL Reads, and today I'm going to be doing the mid-year book freakout tag. I did this last year, and I'll link that in this video. I really enjoy this tag, and I'm just going to get right into it. I'm pretty sure you understand the premise. There's some prompts, and I talk about the books that I've read so far, the books I want to read in the future, and yeah, that's pretty much it. The first question is the best book that you've read so far in 2019. That would be Priory of the Orange Tree, which I do not have a physical copy of. I read this on Kindle, and every time I'm at the store and I want to buy the physical copy, I look at how big it is and thus how expensive it is, and I'm like, I'm not going to do that. This is just a fantastic adult fantasy. I have mostly read young adult fantasy up until this point. I've read some adult fantasy, but this is like a fantastic place to start if you're trying to bridge the gap between the two. And the second best book that I've read in 2019 so far was Circe by Madeline Miller. I read Madeline Miller's first book a few years ago, and I've had this since it came out, and I just never got around to reading it. I finally did read it this year, and it was fantastic, amazing, 10 out of 10 would recommend. The next question is, what is the best sequel that you've read so far in 2019? So I have not really read any sequels in 2019. Originally, when I was thinking of my answer to this, I said Graham's Delicacies by M. Ali, which is kind of a sequel to M. Ali's first novel, which is Soft on Soft, which I am still in the process of reading. I read them out of order. Since I answered all these questions in my Word document and then decided to film this video, I have started reading another sequel, which would be Shadow of Night by Deborah Harkness, which is the sequel to A Discovery of Witches. And while I'm not done with it, I am enjoying it a lot so far. The next question is a new release you haven't read yet but want to, and for that I picked Sorcery of Thorns. I actually did start this. I'm only about 20 pages in, I believe. Something like that, not that far. Number 4 is most anticipated release for the second half of the year, and for this I chose Call Down the Hawk by Maggie Stiefvater. This is the sequel series to her Raven Cycle series, which I absolutely loved. It's one of my favorite series of all time, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people echo that sentiment. It is very popular on Tumblr and also on Goodreads. It is a magical realism series, and this is technically a standalone series, so you don't have to have read the Raven Cycle Quartet in order to understand it, but it does follow one of the main characters from that series. I read like an 8-chapter preview of it, and it was fantastic. I cannot wait until it comes out. It comes out in like October, November or something. I'm so excited. Number 5 is Biggest Disappointment, and I have 2 books for this. The first of these is Spin the Dawn by Elizabeth Lim. I got an arc of this, and I just was so disappointed by this. Like, I know this is a question, but like, I expected so much from this. It was sold as a Mulan retelling that involved elements of Project Runway because there's this whole fashion competition, and the main character is trying to become the tailor of the Royal Empire. And I wish that that had been more of the book, and less of the book had been like this weird journey with the dumbest romantic subplot that I've ever seen. And then the second book was From Twinkle with Love by Zendaya Manan. I read When Dimple Met Rishi when it came out, and I loved it, but this one just did not live up to the expectations that I had from reading that book, because that was one of my favorite books of 2017, 2018, something like that, and I just feel like this was a letdown. It was definitely a different concept and different romance and everything, but I just really did not like it. I can link my review for it down below. I don't really want to get into it. So I still do respect Zendaya Manan as an author, but I just really did not like this book. Number 6 is Biggest Surprise, and for that question I chose The Rules and Regulations for Mediating Myths and Magic by F.T. Lukens. I picked this book up on a whim. I got the ebook version because I was purchasing other books on the Interlude Press website, and it was actually so interesting. This is like a very specific type of like urban fantasy that I really enjoy, which is kind of like every single mythical creature exists and somebody just has to like deal with that reality. It's fantastic. I will link my review for this as well down below. Number 7 is favorite new author, and it can be a debut or new to you, and for that I chose Caitlin Doughty, who is the author of From Here to Eternity and Smoke Gets in Your Eyes and Other Lessons from the Crematory. Caitlin Doughty is a mortician. I stumbled across her YouTube videos on her channel Ask a Mortician, and I was just so intrigued with this like very niche thing that I had never actually studied before. I have been kind of afraid of death my entire life, and she has this whole death positive mentality, and all of her videos just talk about different historical deaths and mummies and like all these different like practices, and she answers questions, and it's just so interesting. And so this is her first book, and this one is her second. While I've only read this one so far, I think that she's a fantastic author. She writes the way that she talks. Since I first enjoyed watching her videos, that is definitely a plus for me. Number 8 is Newest Fictional Crush. I chose Burn from How to Ask a Boy to Prom by S.J. Gosley. This is the second book by S.J. Gosley. I loved her first book, which was called Whatever. It's pretty much the same vibe as that one. It's a high school situation, and there's romance, and it's kind of not what you're expecting. It has the most realistic depiction of teenagers that I've pretty much ever seen, but the romantic interest, Burn, is just so amusing. He's like so wholesome, but also like pretends to be like harder than he is, but he's just really a softie, and I love him. Number 9 is newest favorite character, and for that I chose Nimona from the Nimona graphic novel. I read this on my Kindle, and then I was like, well fuck, I love Nimona so much, I must get the physical copy for my birthday. So this right here is Nimona, and she is like a shape-shifting badass child, pretty much. She's kind of crazy, kind of has like a trigger finger. She doesn't really wait and think about situations. She kind of just goes for it. And again, just like Burn, she kind of like has this hard exterior, and inside she's actually like a lot softer of a person, and I kind of respect that. Number 10 is Book That Made You Cry, and for that I chose We Are Okay by Nina LaCour. I sobbed during this book. It is so like intense, and I just, if you have not read this yet, I don't know what you're doing with your life. I don't know what I was doing with my life before I read this book. Number 11 is Book That Made You Happy, and for that I chose Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. This is so good. This is like one of the first arcs that I got that I was like so excited for, and the reason for that is that I love like royal romance stories, and this is that on like a whole new level, because not only is it a royal romance, but it's like American royalty, like the first son falling in love with British royalty, like the Prince of Wales. Amazing. 10 out of 10. Definitely pick this up. It is so cute. It is an adult romance. Just be aware of that. It is not YA. I know it looks like YA, and it probably looks like it's going to be a contemporary. It is romance. Just be aware of that, but it is fantastic. I cannot wait to see what Casey McQuiston comes out with next. Number 12 is favorite book to film adaptation you saw this year. So I have not seen that many, except for recently when I watched some book to TV adaptations, and one of them I have not actually read the book, and while I was thinking about picking it up, I read some reviews. I said it wasn't that good. The show's a lot better, so I'm just gonna stick with the show. But that first adaptation would be Killing Eve, which is fantastic. It's on BBC America. It's on Hulu. Watch it. It's so good. I love it. Oh, it's so good. And the second of these, I have actually read the book, and that is A Discovery of Witches, and earlier I held up this book, which is Shadow of Night, which is the second book in this series. I was doing this very risky thing of trying to read Discovery of Witches and also watch the first season of the show at the same time, and I actually did pretty good. I only spoiled myself like one time, and if I had just read like 2 more pages, I would not have spoiled myself, so I was not that off. Number 13 is favorite video you have done so far this year. I know I have been like the shittiest about coming out with videos, and I'm so sorry about that. I really wish that I was doing better. I used to feel really disappointed in myself. So if you're disappointed in me, just know we're all in the same boat. My favorite video that I did this year was the Roshni Chokshi vlog that I filmed. I got to meet one of my favorite authors. I went to her book signing at Anderson Bookshop in Naperville, Illinois, and it was just fantastic. She was amazing. The video was like obviously not that hard. It was me getting ready to look so cool so that Roshni Chokshi, when I walked up to her, was like, I loved the look, and I almost passed out right then and there. But also just like getting to hear her speak. She's such an eloquent speaker. I just love her so much. Just ugh. Go watch the vlog. Number 14 is most beautiful book you've bought so far this year or received, and for that I chose From Here to Eternity by Caitlin Doughty. I brought this up earlier, my new favorite author, but this book is just the hottest thing I've ever seen. Like, I don't know what else to say. It's just like this gold foil, and also like how there's like a map at the bottom, and there's also like drawings inside. I cannot wait to read this book, and it's just gorgeous. 10 out of 10. And then number 15, which is the final question, is what books do you need to read by the end of the year? I'm really bad at setting TBRs. I don't know if anyone has noticed, but I don't really set TBRs anymore, and when I do, I just am a disaster at them. The only thing that I really said was there are 3 series that I want to finish this year. The first of these is The Discovery of Witches, which I'm 100 pages into the second book, and there are 3 books and then 1 companion novel. I loved the first book, and this one is going pretty well so far, so I'm pretty sure that I can get through them, and I own the 3rd book, so I think I can do it. The next book on this list, I have said I'm going to read it so many times. I've had it since it came out, like 3 years ago. That is Godsgrave by J. Kristoff. I want to finish the Nevernight series. Nevernight Chronicle? I don't know what the series is called. But the final book is actually coming out this year. It was supposed to come out last year, and then it didn't. And, I mean, I was slightly heartbroken, but I haven't even read the second book, so, like, I can't really say anything. But I know this is going to be fantastic. There's a web series coming out, produced by Pierre Ford, and that's just getting me so hyped for it. So I just really want to read this. I loved the first book so much. And the final series that I want to finish is the Green Creek series by T.J. Klune. The first of these is Wolfsong. This is a adult romance paranormal supernatural story. Pretty much everybody is a queer werewolf, and if you're not a queer werewolf, you're just a queer human who's part of the werewolf pack. Kind of confusing. This is the first book, and the second book came out last year, and the final 2 books are coming out in the second half of this year. So that is the end of the mid-year freakout book tag, of the mid-year book freakout tag. That's what it's called. Thank you so much for watching. If you did this tag, please link it down below. I love watching this tag. This is like my favorite tag to film every year. It was May, and I was like, all I want to do is film this tag. I know that I have all these other videos to edit, and I'm not going to do it because I just want to film this tag. Also, let me know if you have any thoughts on any of the books that I mentioned in this video. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!